Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I can see a few attendees joining in. Assalamu alaikum, Kulsum, Javeria, Glinda, Farhana, Azizbeg, Lubna. So we are going to begin the webinar, inshallah, right on time at 10 p.m. here, which is going to be in 10 minutes. So till then, I thought that we should just, chit chat. You guys tell me your names, where you're from, what do you do? Type in the chat, let me know. And also, in the end of the webinar, we're also going to do a Q&A session. And in the Q&A session, if you want any questions to be answered, then make sure that you're sending the questions here in the Q&A box. I think you can see it at the bottom. So yeah, don't send the questions in the chat because they can easily get lost. So let me just give you like a brief explanation of how I'm going to go about these free live trainings, inshallah. So in this first training, I'm going to be targeting more the mindset, right? So we're going to talk about limiting beliefs, basically so that you can get into the right mindset before we talk about the action steps and the strategies and whatnot, right? Because I believe that, mindset is so important. It's the first step. And I know this topic is more of what you guys probably don't want, but I believe you guys need it. Everybody needs it. And so that's why don't expect that there's going to be a lot of action steps today, but do expect, inshallah, to have a good talk. Wa alaikum assalam, Mustafa from London. I really love early birds, by the way. I mean, you guys know the timings and you still show up 5 to 10 minutes early. I really like that. I appreciate it. Okay, so when we begin the live training, inshallah, I'm going to turn off my video and start screen share. Okay, so should we begin? So once again, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the free live trainings on the topic of balancing Deen with career as a Muslim professional. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ayman Saifullah. You might know me as the founder of Muslim Youth Program. I'm a medical doctor, but now working currently full-time as an online entrepreneur. Now, in this training, I want to show you exactly whether you can even create balance as a career Muslim. Now, the answer to that question is almost always a yes. But there is something standing in the way for most of us. And no, it is not your career. And we're going to talk about what that is and how to get over it. We're also going to talk about the place of da'wah in the life of a working Muslim professional. And there are a lot of misconceptions around this topic too. And I've noticed that, there are two extremes of thoughts among Muslim professionals around this topic. And one extreme is that, people want to leave their profession to do da'wah full time, or they believe that da'wah is not mandatory in any way. So, I want to talk about all that and everything in between. And I also want to show you exactly what are all the ways in which you can play an integral role in the Islamic community, right? So you can see for yourself where you fit in, serving the Islamic community according to your responsibilities and time constraints. And finally, I'm also going to be sharing some inspiring stories of other successful Muslim professionals who are balancing their time really well across all their roles and responsibilities. So, are you guys excited to learn all of this with me today? And inshallah, basically begin a new chapter in December where we're going to meet up live every week to talk about this topic, balancing Deen with career. A much needed topic, right? Yeah, Habiba says so excited. So in these live trainings, today, especially today, I want to be removing some of those limiting beliefs and getting you in the right mindset. So when we talk about the exact strategies and action steps in the next live training, you're in the right zone, right, mentally, and you're not holding on to any of those icky, sticky, limiting beliefs, right, that may be holding you back from tapping into your true potential. Plus, for me as an instructor and as a teacher, it's not fun to just keep giving action steps upon action steps, because that can be very overwhelming. And I noticed that for a majority of my students, they need more mindset shifts than action steps, right? So, and the best part is mindset shifts can happen in moments, literally moments, or they can take years, but I am hoping we'll get through some major mindset shifts today, inshallah. Now, before I get into the training, inshallah, I want to remind you guys to download the starter kit. It's basically a free tool, a very important tool that I've created to help you guys create balance. And I'll be teaching you a lot of stuff in these lives, right? And the starter kit is like a handy little nugget that you want to have so that you can just put all of those teachings into practice and see some of those results fast, inshallah, right? You can get it using the link in the chat. Yeah, now that out of the way, I'm going to begin. So let's just agree first that finding balance between deen and career as a Muslim professional is hard. I mean, it took me years to be able to find clarity on this topic. And if there's something that this, entire process has taught me, it's that the biggest obstacle standing in your way, like I said in the email, is you yourself. In other words, your mindset. And yes, this applies even if your career choice is a really tough one. Even if you're super busy with little time for anything, even then, the biggest obstacle is almost always the mindset. And hear me out on this. I'll show you how. I believe that you can very easily ruin your chances of creating a Sunnah-inspired balance if you don't even believe that you can actually create balance with your time constraints and responsibilities. So that's why today I want to bust the mother of all myths, that it is not possible to be a really good Muslim when you're spending a lot of time working. In other words, that working Muslims can never be as spiritual as Muslims who are not working. And this limiting belief is, by the way, more common than you think it is. I have personally talked to so many career Muslims who are holding on to this myth. Take the example of Humaira, one of my students. She says that I love that you show us that working for Deen and for dunya is possible. That was my biggest fault. I was thinking that the both together in this generation are not possible. And then take the example of Nana. Okay, she says that almost a year ago, I was always unsteady in my iman. And so I decided to isolate myself from the rest of the world because I thought that would make me pious. That was one of the biggest mistakes I've made on my journey. Something didn't feel right. I knew I was making a mistake. And so that's how she realized that having a balance is a very important aspect of our lives, right? And then I just want to ask you, can you pick this invisible limiting belief here in these scripts? You can, right? That a Muslim basically has to give up on, everything, all the dunya related goals in order to secure an akhirah. Right? That if you're a career oriented or passionate about your work, you're losing out on deen. So it has to be one of the two. It can be both. But what's even more interesting is the reason why Muslims have this limiting belief. Now, the biggest reason that I believe most of us have, grown up with this limiting belief is because our thought process has been influenced and still being influenced by a few different paths that one can take to advance in dunya and akhirah. Now, what are these paths? So on the one side, right, we have an entire group, and these are professionals and other working Muslims, right? And growing up, they decided they wanted to be lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers, some sort of career person to be successful because that's what they want to do, that's what they believe in. And so let's see the ways in which this group can serve the Muslim community and contribute to securing an akhirah for themselves, right? How they can use their qualifications and education to achieve success in both dunya and akhirah. So one of the ways is because they're going to be able to earn more, they can spend more on charity, right? So they can be on the giving rather than the receiving end. And also when they do da'wah, they will reach and influence the more qualified Muslims, which are the reformers and change makers of a society, right? So their da'wah efforts are going to have a greater impact, which is why when someone from this group decides to take the responsibility of doing da'wah, they will have a greater return of investment, greater ROI, right? Now, along the same lines of Muslims, obviously, who are not advancing in their professions and careers, but they're still working. They're not professionals, but they're working. Bottom line is all the working Muslims, I put them in this category, right? Then the other path that a Muslim can take would be that of not working. People who are not working for whatever reason, they don't plan on working towards financial flexibility. And this includes a lot of females, right? So a lot of women, they belong to this category. They have more time and more flexibility. And the way they can serve the Muslim community is through their time and energy. They have more time, they have freedom, energy. They can take up more Islamic goals, advanced Islamic education, do more ibadah, serve deen better by doing more da'wah, right? And then the third path is that of the scholars or the full-time da'is, the imams, the sheikhs, right? So this is the elite of the elite groups of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because our scholars are the torchbearers of Deen. They carry the legacy for Deen forward. Abu Darda reported that, the scholars are the successors of the prophets. Verily, the prophets do not pass on gold and silver coins, but rather they only impart knowledge. Now, this is the path for Muslims who are to dedicate their entire lives to getting Islamic education. That's how they serve the Muslim community, right? Basically, they focus solely or majorly on Deen education rather than the dunya education. They work with the belief that instead of spending time serving in their profession, they could spend all of that time serving their Deen. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of this, there is a point to this entire story. The reason why it's important to see this clearly is that each one of these paths can lead you towards securing an akhirah for yourself by serving the Muslim community in different ways. Have a look. They're all able to serve the Muslim community, but through different ways, right? And why do I keep bringing serving the Muslim community? Because that is a very important part of getting a healthy Sunnah-inspired balance. Right? And so bottom line is there is no one path that is a must for all, right? And because of these different paths, because they exist, there are different opinions, different thought processes, it can construct this limiting belief, especially among professionals and working Muslims. And this can be a problem. When professionals who like their work, they genuinely enjoy being career Muslims, even they may start believing things like they need to be a scholar or they need to be highly educated in Deen to be a good Muslim. Emphasis on the word need to be, right? Now, the reason why they may think like that is because obviously they look at this other group of scholars and the people who didn't gain higher education, the people who are not working towards financial freedom, and they compare their lives and they see the biggest roadblock to them becoming a really good Muslim is their career. They blame their career for the lack of time, energy, freedom that people who are not working, they have. So they believe that if they leave their career paths and become full-time scholars or da'is, they might contribute in a better way to the Islamic society and also secure an akhirah. Now, I hope you guys are following me so far. Yeah, so I'm going to assume that you are, unless you type a no in the chat. Okay. Now, so this was taking a deeper look at this limiting belief. Now I want to bust this limiting belief by highlighting the truth. And the truth, according to me, has three parts. Okay. First of all, let's just agree that the Islamic scholars are at a higher prestigious and spiritual pedestal because they have taken a big responsibility for the Muslim Ummah, right? But the truth is, everyone has their unique challenges, responsibilities, and roles that they have to fulfill, that they're going to be asked about. Scholars have different challenges. They will have a more difficult question paper because of their bigger responsibility, the responsibility of guiding people, of not misleading them in any way, of making sure that they're using their knowledge in the best way, and above all, of implementing the knowledge that they're teaching others. And then people with more free time who are not working, they have different challenges. Ever heard that quote that if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person? You know why that is? It's because people who have a lot of free time at their hands, it's more difficult for them to get things done and use their time better than people who are busy. Why? Because they need more discipline and more self-accountability than people who have that sort of discipline because of their job structure and because of their, mandatory responsibilities. So yes, they do have a lot of time for Deen, right? So they have plenty of time to gain more knowledge, but tell me honestly, how many people in your life have you seen that they have all of this, plenty of free time and they're using in the best possible way? They're gaining, more Islamic knowledge. They're, covering goals upon goals. They're not wasting any time. To be honest, I've seen very few people, because when you have a lot of free time at your hands, Shaitan has a different trap set for you, the trap of procrastination. So anyway, Allah is going to ask each one of us according to our unique responsibilities, roles, and challenges. Bottom line is there is no one path that is going to be easy, okay? Because I think at the back of our mind, that's what we're looking for, looking to follow a path that is easy. Now, for everyone, but especially the Muslim professionals who are working, the key to becoming a really good Muslim is adopting the Sunnah balance between all your roles, right? And the truth is, it is not so much about the path you choose, it is more about how well you balance your time across all your roles. So I believe that the bigger roadblock in your way of balancing time is not the career, not the path that you've chosen, it's your mindset, your belief system. Because what happens is when we look at scholars and other Muslims who are not working, we can easily start resenting our work and career. We can easily start having doubts about ourselves. And that lowers self confidence. It takes a toll on your spirituality. And it also affects how you're showing up in all of your roles, including work. So, what good does it do? Nothing, right? And a big reason why we feel this way is because we think that we have to be very knowledgeable in order to be successful. One of my course students, Azizbek, he had the same limiting beliefs, right? He's an IELTS tutor. He's working from home. He was stuck thinking that he has to study a lot of Islam to be labeled as a good Muslim. When I talked to him, he was stuck with the same limiting belief. And he would make unrealistic plans and goals. And when he failed at giving that much time to his unrealistic goals, he would beat himself up thinking that he was a horrible Muslim. When the truth was, now this is the interesting part. Truth is that he was already giving time to his father Ibadah. So he was praying all five on time. Okay, he was earning a halal income for his family, studying Quran regularly, as well as constantly working on improving his habits, including eating habits, lifestyle choices, and basically constantly trying to adopt a Sunnah lifestyle. And despite all of that, there was so much of resentment for career and guilt and low self-esteem. For what? So the lesson here is that even if you're feeling like you're trying to move forward, but you're still feeling like you're moving backward or you're stuck, it's the mindset that needs to be shifted. And by the way, I believe that to be productive, you cannot be in a negative energy mental state, right? Positivity equals productivity. That's what I believe. So this negative energy and low self-esteem and guilt is not a healthy way to grow. Okay. And one more thing. A big reason why professionals, they start believing that they have to, drop all these dunya goals and start studying Islam full time to be good Muslims is because they believe that the only way they can do proper dawah and reach the end goal is to become very knowledgeable, to become a scholar. But this is yet another limiting belief, because the truth is that all Muslims can do dawah to a basic level, even if they're not scholars. Right? And I want to clarify the place of dawah here in this training. I want to clarify the place of dawah here as well. That according to the scholars and my understandings of this, doing dawah in your individual surroundings and at a basic level is a responsibility upon every Muslim. Yeah, so we're talking about basic dawah, okay? And I believe that doing dawah in your individual surroundings and at a basic level is a responsibility, right? Meaning that, doing dawah in your social circle, to your family, by using whatever means that you can, Islamic reminders, social media, halakha gatherings, doesn't matter, right? And that's the first part of what I believe basic dawah. And Allah says in the Quran, Allah gives the criteria of a successful Muslim. In Surah Al-Asr, right? Allah says, by the passing time, indeed, man is at a loss, except for those who believe and do good deeds and urge one another to truth and urge one another to patience. What does urge one another mean? It means dawah, right? And this is one of the 4 criteria of entering Jannah mentioned in Surah Al-Asr, calling people to the truth and patience. And this criteria applies to every Muslim, regardless of your responsibilities, time constraints, right? And then another form of what I believe a mandatory dawah is being an example to others, right? Because if every Muslim could be an example and just relay the message of the Prophet ﷺ, relay the message of Islam to the next person, then Islam would spread like that, right? And Allah says in the Quran, help one another in goodness and in piety. Do not help one another in sin, in transgression. And then he says, so that you may act as a witness, act as witnesses for mankind. And the messenger may be a witness for you. Witnesses of what? Of the truth, of our deen. So yeah, doing dawah in your individual surroundings and at a basic level is a responsibility upon every Muslim, but the reason why I say basic is because there are advanced levels of doing dawah as well. And a more advanced form of doing dawah would be, specializing in a branch or a sub-branch of Islamic education, writing books, creating organizations, programs, traveling the world for the purpose of dawah. These are all advanced methods, giving lectures, talks, etc. Allah says in the Quran, invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good instruction, and argue with them in a way that is best. But not everybody can do that, right? So this advanced dawah on a national or international level is not something every Muslim can or should do. It requires highly developed teaching and communicating skills, right? And as well as a thorough grasp of Islamic knowledge. But this form of dawah is supposed to be executed by at least a group of Muslims in the community, right? The scholars, the full-time da'is. And having active groups of Muslims who perform this elite duty of Allah helps the entire Muslim community, and also it keeps the ball rolling, right? And then the rest of the Muslims who cannot do this, they can support this group through funding, volunteering, organizing events and such work. So this is something I wanted to clear. Okay, that not everybody has the ability, knowledge, or skill set required to do dawah at an advanced level using advanced methods and tools. But everybody can relay the message to the next person and share what they learn about Deen in their family and social circle. Right? So going back to the concept of the different paths, each of these paths are there for a reason. They're meant for different people. They're important in their own way. So it is important to see the bigger picture and not demean one group or another, one path or another based on personal opinions and preferences. Because if you look at the Islamic teachings, our Deen has separate rooms and roles for professionals, stay-at-home moms, other working Muslims, full-time scholars, and everything in between. And our Deen emphasizes the community aspect more than anything. Know that, communities, they're not made of clones. They're made of individuals. Same concept applies to Muslim communities. Now, I like to explain this using the analogy of a human body. Like a human body has different organs, right? And different roles for each one of those organs. What the heart can do, the brain cannot. What the brain can do, the limbs cannot. Every organ has a separate but vital role in keeping the human body fully functioning at its best, right? So if you see all of these organs as a small part of the bigger picture, then it's easy to understand the place and the importance of every block. But if you solely focus on one and trash the rest, then all you're left with is an organ, just one. So in a nutshell, this is what it looks like if you divide the Muslim community on the basis of dawah, or serving the Muslim community, giving back. Now, I want you to take a look at this, and I want you to decide what is the best role for yourself. Where do you fit in this picture, right? And where would you like to be? So you could be in one group, but you would like to be in another one. That's fine. So let me explain what this is. It looks very scientific. Trust me, it's not. So the first group is full-time dawah without financial independence, right? So these are the elite of the elite, in my eyes. They're working full-time for non-profit organizations. They're relying on external sources of funding, such as donations. They have no means of attaining financial independence on their own. They're doing full-time dawah. They are the servants of Allah, doing here on a mission, right? Then there is this other group, right? This is people who are also doing full-time dawah, but they have some sort of financial independence. Today, we need more of these people than ever, right? Because it also builds the economy of the Muslim community, right? So here we would include people like the entrepreneurs, the Muslim entrepreneurs like Noman Ali Khan, right? Offering premium services, info products to the Muslim community, right? I've actually put down some names here so that you actually understand who I'm talking about. So this group, let me see. Yeah, this group also includes people like Dr. Bilal Phillips. So I did my homework here. Dr. Bilal Phillips, Omar Suleiman, right? So these could be people who are either professionals working full-time and professionals becoming an entrepreneur, or just entrepreneurs, or people who studied Islam from day one and who chose a career in Islam, people like Dr. Bilal Phillips and Omar Suleiman. Or it also includes people like Noman Ali Khan and Yasser Qadi. They had different professions. They were career professionals. Noman Ali Khan worked in the ID industry, and then he dropped out and became an entrepreneur. Now he serves the Muslim community. Same with Yasser Qadi. He studied chemical engineering, and now he shifted paths and studied from the University of Medina to become a scholar. So just the reason I'm mentioning these names, because these are famous people, and we look up to these people, and we don't understand what they're doing. I swear, I didn't understand for many years. So I wanted to clarify for you guys as well, that if you want to be like somebody, understand first what they're doing and which role is best for you, right? You have to see according to your potential, your time constraints and responsibilities. And then let's talk about this third one, which is part-time dawah with financial independence and financial independence through a job, right? So these are working professionals. The majority of the people, they fall in this or this group. Basically, these are the two groups that I particularly like to talk to. You know why? Because they have unique struggles that people who are doing full-time dawah, they don't understand, right? Because they're already off to a great balance, right? They're serving Deen full-time. But these people, they're working and they have some sort of financial independence, and they're either supporting da'is on the side with their job, or they're doing dawah themselves, part-time dawah. Right? So this is a very non-scientific breakdown of people, Muslims, according to the way they want to serve the Muslim community. These are all halal, by the way, completely allowed in Islam. There's room for everyone. There's just not one way that everybody has to follow. If there was, Allah would have mentioned in the Quran, Prophet would have told us in the Sunnah. So that's why I say that you get to decide which role you want to play in the Muslim community, right? And how do you decide? Because it's hard. This is a difficult decision. Whether you're already working or you're pursuing your master's or you have worked for the last 2 decades, doesn't matter. If you want to serve starting today or, as soon as you can, then you got to decide which role you want to play. And I believe that, you can decide, you can make that decision easier through a few different ways. So first is you can do istikhara. You can ask guidance from Allah. Also, this also depends majorly on the role that you can be good at. Something that is a little outside your comfort zone, in the growth zone, but not in the panic zone, right? Something that you might be even great at, right? As compared to the rest of the people. And a role that you believe will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make you a better Muslim. And finally, a role that you can balance with all of your mandatory responsibilities from Allah, because that's like a non-negotiable. That's something you can't compromise. So anyway, there's an entire criteria, by the way, of creating a Sunnah-inspired balance. And I talk about that and how to implement that criteria in, inshallah, the next live, as well as I've given a few steps in the starter kit. So make sure to download that as well. Okay. So today I also wanted to give you a few examples from the past, because I think we need, more than anything else, we need stories, inspirational stories of people from the past and from today, of people who are doing what we want to do, of people who are already where we want to be, right? And this is just an example. And Al-Rabia, she was a daughter of Mu'adh. She was heard saying that we used to participate in the battles with the Prophet of Allah. We gave water to the fighters, served them, and returned the dead and wounded to Medina. These are all extra responsibilities they've taken with their families and the mandatory responsibilities of ibadah. And all of that, and this is how they're serving the Muslim community, right? Example, and these are women, right? And then another woman, Atiyah, she was an Ansari. She said, I accompanied the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 7 times, guarding the camp, making the food, treating the wounded, and caring for the sick. And I also want to share some inspiring stories of people that I know. Dr. Ali, he works as a GP in Scotland, right? And I believe that he has created a very healthy balance in his life among other Muslims, right? And he's praying his Fard Salah. He's a volunteer in so many of Islamic organizations, mashallah, and giving his best to his job. And so I asked him a couple of questions. Why? Because I wanted to give you guys a fresh perspective on this topic as well. I mean, you must get sick of me talking about it, but I wanted to give you a different viewpoint. Okay, so I asked him, does your career get in the way of your spirituality? Right? And he said that you have less time. Yes, you do have less time because of your career. If you want to study Islam in depth, but there is still plenty of opportunity to learn the practical aspects of Islam and some of the science behind it. And because of my work, I have authority in unique opportunities, such as being in academic circles, allowing discussion about religion and potential dawah. So basically, he's using his career to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to become a better Muslim. And then when I asked him, so for advice, right? So again, from a fresh perspective, how do you think we can create balance? And if you ask any professional, they're going to say it's hard. It is difficult. But there's a lot of ajr for it too, because we are aspiring to be like our Prophet ﷺ, to live the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us. He says getting a balance is difficult, but it can be achieved. The main obstacle is just the time you have in the day to do each of the roles. And so the key is to be organized. and to be prepared to work hard at all aspects of your life. Because if you're putting effort into some roles and not others, then that just causes imbalance. And then meet Sana. She works as an optician in the UK. And again, she's mashallah, she has a great balance doing all the fard, serving the Muslim community by volunteering and whatnot. I asked her, does your career get in the way of your spirituality? She says, the Deen inspires me to perform my duties better, plus gives me an opportunity to do dawah every single day by doing my job in the best way, right? By doing my job in the best way possible, while showing the non-Muslims how a Muslim can pray, fast, and care for others, thus taking both Deen and duty seriously. SubhanAllah. And then when I asked her, do you believe that a busy 21st century working Muslim professional can be a really good, pious Muslim? And she says, Islam teaches us that we must strive to attain our place in the akhirah, but not while neglecting our responsibilities in the dunya. While being successful in dunya, we can achieve better for the ummah and help our brothers and sisters. Also, we should not belittle achieving more as long as we check our intentions while doing so, right? If you want to be like these successful Muslim professionals and more, then stick around with me in these live trainings, because I'm going to show you exactly how to get that kind of balance, inshallah. But with a systematic approach, a step-by-step approach, right? We're going to bring all of that theory into practice. My mission is to help you bring a Sunnah-inspired balance in your days so you can do really well across all your roles in Islam, as well as excel in your work and profession, inshallah ta'ala. That's precisely why I took my time, by the way, to understand all of these concepts for years before I finally decided to pull back the curtain on this topic and teach you guys what I've learned. So here, I want to talk to the Muslim professionals, because no one's talking to you. You cannot relate to the top scholars because they're not working full-time. You cannot relate to the stay-at-home moms. You have unique struggles. And trust me, I understand where you're coming from. I get it. And the 100% truth, according to me, I believe, that you can achieve that balance, because this is how I think. If other Muslim professionals have created a balanced life, right, you can too. And again, inshallah, I'm going to be sharing a lot of stories of successful career Muslims who are doing crazy things and showing up in all areas of their life over these live trainings over the course of this entire month of December, inshallah. Again, I want to remind for the people who joined late that if they haven't downloaded the free starter kit till now, go get your starter kit. The link is going to be given in the chat. It's basically a handy tool to help you put everything you learn from these trainings into practice, inshallah. Now, for today's training, my number one goal was to break a few common myths for you around this topic. So I want you to pause, because I think I've been talking for the last half hour. Let's just think for a second and think about all the myths that I've broken for you till now. What myths out of all these were you holding on to? And how have they been making you feel till now? And why were you thinking like that in the first place? So guys, type in the chat. Let me know, what myths have I broken for you till now? If you were even holding on to any of these myths, it's totally fine. I had these myths growing up. That's how I know. My biggest myth was that I can't be a good Muslim while being a professional. So that was the biggest myth that I had. Alhamdulillah, that's been broken now over the last few years. And now at this point, if you're thinking, what are my next steps to creating balance? Okay, so the first step, again, reiterating the same concepts. Stop sabotaging yourself. Change your mindset to believing that you can achieve great things in dunya and akhirah. I should have typed that down here, as a Muslim with your profession. Okay, just repeat this saying. I repeat this saying to myself many times. You can achieve great things with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in dunya and akhirah. Should have added those two phrases as well. So please add that when you're doing your self-talk sessions. Okay, so Mustafa says, the myth broken. Can't be successful in my career and my deen. Nice. So alhamdulillah. So we have people breaking myths. This is amazing, because it's such an abstract topic. So I feel very happy when something abstract and in theory, it comes into practice and creates a change in your mind, in your heart. I feel very good. Habiba says that the myth that I was following was that my career will prevent me from doing dawah. Yes. See, there are two myths. Jawaria says that I'm not doing enough ibadah in the form of being grateful and praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. giving more time to, so just because your myths are broken doesn't mean the problem has been fixed. Just because the myths are broken doesn't mean you're going to start using your time better starting right now. No. That's why we have two more trainings, inshallah. Wait for them. So the myth just gets you, breaking past the myth just gets you in the right mindset. Now you're thinking positively rather than thinking from a place of guilt and negativity, right? Naila says that I can't be a good mom and teach my girls about Islam because of my career. Yes, because Naila, you have time constraints that not everybody has. You're a mom, you have kids, and you have a career. So stick around, inshallah. I'm going to show you in very easy steps how you can, inshallah, give time to Deen. And I know that it sounds a little difficult in your head right now, but it's not that hard. Trust me. It's just we have to lower down our expectations. That's the first step. If you can do that today, inshallah, then you're going to see change. Lower down your expectations according to your responsibilities. Well, we're going to talk about all that later, because if I go into that right now, I'm going to teach you basically live 2 training material today. Somaya says, myth broken. I can be a good Muslim without completely immersing myself in the Deen. So without completely immersing yourself in Deen would imply that your Deen is not an integral part of your life from morning to bedtime, which is not the message. The message is basically you're doing everything with the right intentions. You have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're constantly thinking about what's going to make Allah happy. You're making decisions accordingly. And at the same time, you are giving time to other goals besides Islamic education. You get what I mean? So let's go over the rest of the slides. Okay, Rahmat says, it's impossible to learn about Islam in depth to be a better Muslim and have a career. He broke that myth, mashallah, trying to be good. Okay, so I'm going to read these messages at the end. Inshallah ta'ala, keep them coming though. Okay, so that's the first step, okay? The first step in working with my students one-on-one, I've realized most of them, they have been stuck in worrying about this for a long time, some even for years. And when you do their mindset training and coach them out of their limiting beliefs, amazing things start to happen. I'm going to give you one example here of Hussam. Hussam said, I thought Islam is all about praying, and it can't help me with my career or my 21st century psychological problems. 2 months ago, it was a big mess of everything. I used to kill my time. Notice how one myth can lead you to basically self-destruction. You're wasting your time on purpose because you don't believe. And then he says today, and this is after he broke free from the myth, I make sure to get my basics in place, wake up for Fajr, work till noon, talk to my family, help with chores, talk to friends, sleep at 10. If this is not a good balance, I don't know what is. I make sure I do my prayers and read Quran just by breaking free from one myth. Now, obviously, it's not as simple as that. This is just the first step. So don't expect yourself to see groundbreaking results just because you're getting over a few myths, but it is definitely an essential step, very important. So do you see what happens, right? So again, this is the last time I'm going to say it. It's time to let go of these limiting beliefs, because it is possible to be a good professional and a good Muslim. And the best part, wait for it, it is not as complicated or as difficult as you think it is. Okay? And have a look at this. We are allowed to pursue our goals in dunya. Okay, we are allowed to pursue any goal in dunya with, it could be career or anything else, as long as, number one, all of our goals, they fall under the umbrella of Islam. What does that mean? That means that all of your goals, whatever you're pursuing, you're staying within the halal boundaries. Number two, you have akhirah-focused intentions. Okay, so your goals are not just dunya-oriented. They have some connection to the akhirah. Some way they're going to help you in securing an akhirah. And number three, you're following the Prophet's sunnah in whatever you do. You're trying your best to follow the Prophet's example. And then the final thing is we invest more time in Deen-related goals that make us a better Muslim. If you are doing this, inshallah, whatever goals that you're pursuing, they're going to bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just remember these 4 things. This is what I remind myself over and over. Whenever I pick a goal, I ask myself, halal, akhirah-focused intention, following the Prophet's sunnah, and is this a Deen-related goal or just solely for the purpose of dunya, right? And by the way, this is something I talk more about in one of the articles. At the end, I will look for it and post the link, okay? And also, again, this is something we're going to go in much more detail in the next live. Make sure that you show up for the next live, because the next live, inshallah, is one of the most integral live in all of these live trainings. Okay, I want to give you, now that we're winding up, I want to give you a few examples of some of the MYP readers who have created an amazing balance. They're inspirational stories. So one example is that of Fozia. She works from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in a renewable energy company. Then she has 2 hours for commute. Okay, so she wakes up early to leave for work. And then she prays Dhuhr and Asr at work. These are very hard for people who are working Muslims here, and they know how hard it can be to find, proper place to pray in the workplace, to ask for the boss if you can pray, especially if you're working in a non-Muslim country. And then she manages to read the Quran 3 to 4 pages every day. She's doing basic ibadah consistently. And now her next goals are much advanced goals for majority of us. And those are increasing her khushu and to do da'wah. And then take example of Minahil. She's a medic. She's working full-time as a junior doctor. She gives proper time every day to her family. Why? I love this because she said that she believes that serving her family is the most rewarding act of ibadah, and it brings her closer to Allah. It just makes her feel like a really good Muslim. See, this is how she's showing up despite being really busy. And she has been doing all of her basic ibadah regularly, reading Quran with translation and tafsir regularly, mashallah. And in fact, despite being stuck in the marketplace, and this is one of the examples of a good balance, that this is something, people with a good balance, they do. If they're in the marketplace, they're outside, they're working, whatever, if it's time for salah, they will always manage to find a place to pray their fard salah, no matter where they are, right? The hospital, the mall. And now she started serving the Muslim community through her blog. SubhanAllah. Amazing balance, showing up in all of the roles, right? That to me is a great balance. And these are, by the way, just a couple of examples, because if I sit here giving you examples, it's going to take us all day. So these are just a few examples of growth-oriented Muslims who are working towards an amazing balance. Because hear this, it doesn't make sense to give yourself just 2 options, especially when none of them apply to you. Option A, leave career and become an Islamic scholar. Option B, excel in your career and focus on Islam later when you have more time, which, by the way, never happens. So I'd like to introduce, and by the way, this isn't really a choice for you. If you're still here, if you're still listening to this, I believe that you already know that you need to create balance, right? If you want to be satisfied with yourself as a Muslim, if you want to feel closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this option doesn't apply to you. So I'd like to introduce a very sweet option, according to me, and that's option C. Taking the step-by-step approach to balancing your current responsibilities with Deen. This sounds way more relieving and easier. You know why? Because of this, step by step. You don't have to get to that level tomorrow. You can take your time as long as you have started the journey, as long as you're on the path, as long as you're going in the right direction, which is very important because you can easily get lost if you start following these secular gurus, start following the time management tactics. You can easily get lost. And anyway, so this option is a win-win, right? It brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you end up doing everything you want to do. So final word, start today by being intentional about how you spend your time and energy and actively work on creating balance, starting today. Okay, don't push this off for later. I tried my best to give you a lot of motivation in this live today to get you started, to give you that, kickstart. And I even create a starter kit just for this purpose. So if you're with me now I'm going to start reading the chat. So if you're with me and if you love this option C, like I do, please type a yes in the chat. Type a yes in the chat. Say I'm ready. Say anything that you're ready to take the step-by-step approach to creating balance. And I'm going to talk about this, inshallah, in the next live. So till then, I have homework for you guys, which is to use the starter kit, right? So use the starter kit, inshallah. Okay, so we are having some chat messages. Yes, I'm ready. That's what I want to hear. Mustafa says, been waiting for this. MashaAllah. This is so good. This gives me motivation to show up here every week. Okay, Habiba said, oh mashallah, Habiba shared the hadith that Prophet ﷺ said, if the final hour comes while you have a shoot of a plant in your hands and it's possible to plant it before the hour comes, you should plant it. Amazing. That's a very motivational hadith. Yes, the time is now, right? Born ready. Samra says, born ready. Okay. What do you want me to repeat, Halima? Can you please type in the chat? Halima is saying that she wants me to repeat some. Hadith. Yeah. It's in the chat. I was just reading what Habiba wrote that maybe you continue. What makes me continue my career is that I always remember this hadith, and it is Anas bin Ibn Malik reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, if the final hour comes while you have a shoot of a plant in your hands, and it is possible to plant it before the hour comes, you should plant it. Meaning it's never too late. It's always, right now is always the right time. The best time is right now. Okay, so what else did I wanted to say? Yes, so a couple of things. One, the starter kit. Two, show up in the next live, inshallah ta'ala. Invite your friends, invite people, because all of these live trainings are free. You can share the link with other people as well. I don't mind that. They don't have to be on the email list. Although if they are on the email list, then they can receive other material as well. So what else? The third thing, yes. So I will be uploading the recording of this training as well as all the next live, the other two lives, live 2 and live 3, inshallah, on a page, all in one place. And I'm going to send you the link through emails. Okay, so keep on the lookout for that. What else? Okay, if you guys have any questions, so we have ended the talk. Marve is here. Okay, shout out to you, Marve. Marve is a volunteer here at MYP. She's an industrial engineer, mashallah, and despite that, she finds time. And I appreciate you, Marve. Hello again. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Although today's topic wasn't that confusing, plus I reiterated the concepts again and again, so I don't think you have any questions. Inshallah, in the next trainings, if you do have questions about like how to implement the material regarding the action steps, I'll be sitting here in the live, in the Q&A sessions for as long as you guys need me. So there's no time limit on the Q&A. So inshallah, you can ask your questions anytime over the next 2 presentations as well. Alrighty. So I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes to see if you guys have any questions, and then let's end the meeting, the webinar. Barakat says, Jazakallah khairan sis, enjoyed this, looking forward to the next week. I'm so glad. Thank you, Barakat. Okay, so Muhammad Faizan asked a question, is it applicable for a student also? Yeah, of course. These are for career Muslims. Although, yes, I talk more to the working professionals because I'm a working professional and, they can relate to me, but I have been a student before. So I understand your struggles and I know that this material can help you too, of course. Javeria says, eagerly waiting for the next session. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Javeria. I'm going to look for your name in the next live. I remember. Actually, I'm really bad at remembering names, but I will remember yours. So anyway, whoever cannot attend live trainings, I do believe that there is a special energy in meeting live, right? So I know that their recordings are available. You can access the recordings anytime you want. But I do believe that, showing up live has its charm. I mean, you walk away with this packet of energy that does not come from the recorded settings, I believe. Although, of course, you can get the material from the recordings, but showing up live is a different experience. That's what I believe. So do try your best. I have stayed up late. I have compromised my sleep. I have, gone to all lengths to watch a training that I believe in, because that's how much I believe in learning. And just to watch a webinar at an odd time, because obviously, webinars can be at odd timings because of a global audience. I've stayed up and, for the webinars that I believe in. So if you guys believe that this material is going to help you, then show up live. You can create time for it. You can adjust it in your schedule, inshallah. Although don't just, compromise your sleep or anything like that for it. Alia says, I really enjoyed this meeting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon you, grant you and your family more blessings. Inshallah, you will be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah. I mean, that is so sweet of you, Alia. Jazakallah khair. Ameen. Wa yakum, everyone. Gives me a lot of motivation reading your chat messages. Look at that. See? Aprilia says that it's 1 a.m. there in Indonesia, and she still prefers watching this live. It gives good vibes than recorded videos, and she has made the effort to show up live. Thank you so much for your presence. I really appreciate it, Aprilia. Patel says that I'm a student and your blog material has helped me a lot to start a balance. Inshallah, looking forward to learn more. Inshallah. So I'm just hanging out here because I like talking to you guys. So if you guys want to leave. I'm going to stop this webinar in 5 more minutes. I'm going to give you 5 more minutes to keep typing your messages, and I'm just reading them. Muhammad Faizan says, I struggle to do work for dunya. I do ibadah and spend 2 hours in Deen-related videos. Okay, so if you're looking for answers regarding, how to adjust your time, I would advise you to follow the 2 steps in the starter kit, because I would just be repeating what I already say in the starter kit. Okay, and those 2 steps, I'll just tell you here, is first, you look at the time constraints that you have, your responsibilities, and then you set goals according to that. You say you struggle to do work for dunya. Is that, whatever work that you have to do, is that a mandatory? Is that a must thing? Is that a responsibility? If you're struggling to do it, then that means that you're neglecting that responsibility. If you're compromising your work, by overdoing everything and whatever else that you're overdoing, then that you're not showing up in that role according to the Sunnah way. Okay, so yes, each and every role has its own importance, but sometimes what we get confused in is optional versus mandatory roles. Okay, so if you keep the optional separate from the mandatory, first fix the mandatory roles, then move on to the optional, then it's going to make you feel better, because more barakah is going to follow you, because barakah follow those who, if you have downloaded the sources of barakah, it's another free guide that I've created, you will notice that all of those sources at the end come down to spending time in all of the 4 roles according to the Sunnah. If you spend time with family, barakah follows you. Wake up at night to do ibadah, give time to Allah, barakah follows you. Do your work with sincerity, earn a halal income, barakah follows you, right? So focus on the mandatory roles first, and then go for the optional, right? So if you're saying, watching videos, that's great. You're watching Deen-related videos, that's amazing. But get more organized, create a structure. 2 hours of that time could be used to, you can take a proper course, like a proper Arabic course or an Islamic course, or if you're taking a master's for your career, whatever it is, you can use that time rather than just binging, YouTube videos. I used to do that before. I don't think it's the most productive way to use your time, even if you're watching Deen-related videos. I'm not saying don't watch Deen-related, but there has to be a time cap. Because if you're just leaving yourself, you're going to end up binging something else. And, and then you're going to end up compromising your mandatory roles. Anyway. Okay, so Alberto says, Assalamu alaikum. Maybe my question needs a very long answer. Unfortunately, I'm not successful to pray all of my 5 salawat of the day. I'm irregular in this, sometimes 0, sometimes 3, sometimes 5, and I know it's a great sin. So what do you suggest me to do to be more regular? First, agreed, that's going to take a long answer, but I'm going to try my best to give you at least some sort of answer to get you in the right direction, inshallah, and get you started. So I like, first of all, that you know that it's an important thing. You are clear that this is the top priority goal that you have to focus on right now. You want to be more regular. I've noticed that for the people who are really irregular and they're starting out to pray on time, it's not easy to do it alone. I know that from experience, because not personal experience, but experience in my family members, relatives. I've noticed that the people tried decades to pray on their own, the 5 prayers, but they couldn't, because we need that accountability, that motivation from others, right? And I know that's why it's a bigger challenge for the Muslims today, because everybody's living alone. They're all just separate corners of the world. They're all on their own, and it's so easy to fall to sin, right? The first step, I believe, that you need, if you have tried and you are not successful, then the accelerator technique would be to find somebody who can hold you accountable, Or you can ask your mom to call you out. You can ask your spouse, whoever it is in your life that you trust, that are more practicing than you, ask them to hold you accountable. And then another source of accountability can be self-accountability. There are Salah trackers available online, and I'm even thinking of creating some for the MYP website. So if I do, but don't wait for that. Don't procrastinate on this. But yeah, download some Salah trackers and get started today, right? Hold yourself accountable. And those little ticks, that's how I did it, by the way, back when I was 14, when I was trying to practice my Salah and become regular. Yes, my parents would hold me accountable, but at the end of the day, the thing that worked the most for me was self-accountability, because you cannot rely on others all the time. So what if somebody doesn't call you out for Salah? You're going to forget about it. So the best way is inner self-accountability. And the way to do that in today's world, digital world, is download trackers, start using them. Try. If it doesn't work, there are other techniques, other ways, but for you, I believe that the biggest tip that's going to work is accountability, either external or self. What can I do to lessen my hour of sleep? Basically, your sleep duration. So, first of all, I'm going to answer that question with another question. Why do you want to lessen your hour of sleep? If you're sleeping 8+ hours, then I understand. But one of my course students, she was like, Aminat, she was sleeping 6 hours and she was like, how do I lessen my hour of sleep? The same question. That's why I laughed. There we go. He said 8 hours. Okay. So Muhammad Faizan has the same question, 8 hours. My question is, why do you want to lessen your hour of sleep if you're sleeping between 6 to 8 hours? That's a normal, healthy sleep for majority of the young Muslims. And as you grow older, the sleep decreases. Instead, what you can do is one technique that really helps if you want to lessen your hour of sleep, sleep early. If you sleep early, the night sleep has 10 times more value, 10 times being a very random number. It's not scientific, but 10 times more value than a daytime on sleeping at odd timing. So if you sleep early at night and if you wake up early, you're going to need less sleep. This is tested, tried by many, many, many Muslims and myself as well. I've tried that. If you sleep early, for example, at 9 or 10 p.m., and you wake up at Fajr, that's it. You don't need more sleep. You probably need a little bit of a nap during the day. But if you are sleeping late, then there is no way you can reduce your sleep and feel fresh. There's literally no way. You're going to be drowsy. So if you're sleeping at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you're trying to reduce your sleep hours to, or even 1 a.m., if you're trying to reduce your sleep hours to 7 hours or, 6 hours, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to sleep less. You're going to be drowsy all day. You're going to be mentally deranged a little bit. You're not going to feel fresh. So that's not the goal. Sleeping less is not the goal. Sleeping good quality sleep is the goal. And if you do that, then yes, you can sleep less and still be fresh. Okay, Samra says 8 hours is fundamental for memory. Yeah, I do believe that there's a range. There's not a fixed number for everyone, because I noticed that, as you get older, people need 6 hours sleep, and youngsters, they probably need even 9 hours sleep. But you just have to figure out what works best for you by sleeping early and waking up. And if you practice this, if you see that you're fresh, then that's the amount of sleep you need. If you're drowsy, you're doing something wrong. Alrighty, if you guys don't have any other questions, whenever I say this, another question pops up. But I think everybody, plus these are general productivity questions, and I like them. So keep them coming. In fact, you know what I suggest? Use the starter kit starting today till next Thursday. By the way, every live is going to happen Thursday, same time, okay? So till the next live, write your questions and ask me at the end. So prepare questions for me that I can answer, inshallah, at the end of the next live. Because sometimes you're like, oh, the live ends and you're like, oh, I wanted to ask that question and I forgot. So just write them down beforehand. Okay, so I'm going to end today's webinar. I had a really good time, alhamdulillah. And inshallah, I'm going to see you guys and more of you guys. So because you're going to be sharing this and inviting more people, I'm going to see you guys, inshallah, next week, same time, Thursday, 11 a.m. Central Time in 9 a.m. Pacific. Okay. Till then, take care of yourself. Start using the starter kit. Remember me in your du'as. Alrighty? All right. See you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.